Breath of the Wild has really great horses, some of the best horses in gaming even. This is my horse. I tried to come up with a pun name on Stallion, but kinda gave up on thinking of a good one, so I named my horse Stan instead. Knowing that my wife adores horses, I wanted to show her Stan, and, well...
They are so gorgeous! These horses are so perfect! I mean, the feathers, dude!
And see, I have no idea. The feathers, Amber. Horses don't have feathers.
But they do! The long hair attached to the back of their fetlocks?
You're still losing me here.
Sorry. The fetlock is this part of the horse's leg. Well, I mean, technically the fetlock is just the bone, and hair can't be attached directly to bone, but you know what I mean. Not all breeds of horses have them, and typically the more feathering a horse has, the bigger the breed. Feathering is most common in big draft horses, like Clydesdales.
The beer horses?
Yes, the beer horses. Also, Shire horses and other stockier pony breeds. But as I was saying, the horse feathering in this game is so beautiful and so flowy.
If not all horse breeds have it, then could you use these feathers to determine the breed of the horse in this game?
Kinda, yeah. The horses in the game look like if a fell pony and a Clydesdale somehow had a baby. And they also would all come from an ancestor that was shorter than most horses. Considering Link is so comparatively short, these horses aren't nearly as big as real Clydesdales and fell ponies, but they fit every other defining feature.
Having bulky Clydesdales, or at least Clydesdale-ish draft horses around would make sense when you consider how they're used in the game. They lug around all sorts of things and have to survive in such a harsh environment. Most of the horses in Hyrule are found either in the nice temperate plains or the alpine climates. Also, there are loads of monsters. You always gotta survive the monsters.
Their climate makes perfect sense too, because most stockier ponies and horses live in colder, more mountainous areas.
But come to think of it, aren't most horse breeds today human-influenced? Aren't Clydesdales essentially the corgis of horses?
Well, plenty of real-world wild breeds have been influenced by domestic breeds. The Mustang, for example, were descended from domesticated horses that the Spanish brought over during exploration and conquering, and some got out and started horsing around. The Chincoteague ponies were descended from stock released on Assateague Island by the 17th century colonists looking to escape livestock laws and taxes on the mainland. Neither of these are technically wild, but feral. But I would argue that neither are the horses in Breath of the Wild. The Zelda horses tame a bit too easily to be completely wild. Feral horses, after several generations, revert to more wild-like tendencies, but they will never be completely wild, due to the nature of human involvement in their genes.
And since this game occurs 100 years after the calamity, it's very possible that these horses descended from tame horses that got spooked and ran off in the initial chaos, or just managed to survive on their own once their owners died. A few generations later, they become more feral, but still retain a lot of their domestication in the form of genes.
Plus, feral horses live in small bands of 3 or more horses.
Just like in Breath of the Wild.
Also, the animations for the horses in this game are gorgeous. Look at that gait. That is a fantastic gait.
I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about again, so I'll just wait for you to explain how a horse running involves gaits.
No, not gait as in G-A-T-E, gait as in G-A-I-T. Horse gaits are the various ways in which a horse can move, either naturally or as a result of specialized training by humans. And some horses have a better natural gait than others.
So, like the difference between how a shuffling drunk moves and how someone with more proper pompous posture moves.
Yep. And there are some breeds of horses that are considered gated breeds because the breed as a whole walks with such a nice step to it and it is easy to modify and train them. Breeds like the American Saddlebred and the Agedianberger.
The Egg Geidenberger.
Yes, the Agedianberger, which looks similar in build to the horses in Breath of the Wild anyway. The way the horses move in this game is so beautiful and fluid and looks like actual horses, and I love it. If you were to enter a horse from the game into an actual showing competition, they'd do pretty well. The high step full turn they do is the stuff of dreams and is basically show level. So is their high side step. Heck, even just the trotting, cantering, and galloping in this game looks and feels magnificent. The backing up is accurate and graceful too. It's the first time I've seen horse movement in a game that is so accurate and varied. And there are so many different color and pattern variations to the horses in the game. My personal favorite are the blanketed APPALOOSAS.
The cheese butts?
Yes, the cheese butts.
Cheese butts.
And I also love the APPALOOSAPINTOS.
I'm not even a horse person, but at least I can tell you that those are more commonly called paint horses.
Actually, no, they're not paint horses. though that is a pretty common misconception.
So the one bit of horse knowledge I thought I had was a farce.
Yep. Sorry, babe. Pinto refers to any horse of any breed that has that splotchy paint-like coloration, whereas a paint refers to a horse registered to the APHA, the American Paint Horse Association, and both parents have to be of the paint breed for that to happen. And since there is no APHA or Hyrulean equivalent, and since they look no different from the other horses build-wise, they would be Pinto, not paint.
So it's like how a jacuzzi is always a hot tub, but a hot tub isn't always a jacuzzi.
Pretty much. I also love that there are a few different face marks. Whether they be blazes, stripes, muzzles, or bald, this game has a pretty good bit of variety, which is great, since a lot of games with horses are like, oh, let's just throw in 3 colors and make one of them paint or polka dotty, and call it good, which frankly is lazy and boring.
How is the taming system, by the way? Press L to tame horse seems too video gamey at all to be accurate.
It is simplified, for sure, but that is essentially how you train animals.
You just press L? Down. Good job.
No, you praise them for doing well, like in the game, after you get them to gallop, or to reassure them if you're in the wrong, like when you run out of spurs and still egg them on anyway. And if you aren't careful while approaching them, especially in their blind spots, whew, that is not gonna go well. And I love that there's variation between their temperament, stamina, and strength, because that's accurate too, because even within the same breed, there's gonna be variation. And the fact that the faster and better horses are harder to tame is also pretty accurate to real life. Thoroughbreds and Arabians, which are some of the most common and best horses for showing and jumping, are notoriously high-strung and skittish. In the equestrian world, this is known as being warm-blooded, whereas other breeds, especially draft breeds, that are more laid-back and easily spooked are known as cold or cool-blooded. And the blankets and saddles are really cool too. Some of them look akin to the Western style, typically seen in rodeos and old cowboy movies, whereas the other saddles look more like a laid-back version of the English saddle and blankets, focusing on being in tune with the horses and getting work done, unlike these other streamlined, sleeker ones which are used for show jumping and other fancy things. Which again makes sense, since in the game you aren't using these horses for anything fancy, just hard work and getting from point A to point B in a timely fashion. I also love the fact that they remembered to include all the pieces to the saddle, and actually remembered to include the bit. That's the part you put in the mouth, and makes them actually listen to you. A lot of horses in video games don't have that. And to top it all off, there is a giant horse in the game. He is a total beast, with infinite stamina and massive amounts of strength. Now he is definitely pure draft horse, especially given the shape of his head. Also, when you have horses do anything in the game, Link actually holds the reins and moves his body correctly. If the horse is backing up, he lifts the reins back and looks behind him. If he makes the horse go faster, he flips the reins and digs his heels in a bit. If he has the horse move sideways, he moves the reins sideways, and so on and so forth. It is all so perfect.
Plus, one huge thing that I really like about the horses in this game is that they aren't stupid. Well, at least not as stupid as video game horses tend to be. When properly trained, they actually know how to follow the paths and dodge trees. Like, come on, other video game horses. You should know what these trees are.
Real horses don't run into trees very often.
Get good. Horses in the real world are just like any other animal. They have brains. They don't need to exclusively listen to you. They can be autonomous when they need to be. Nintendo did a great job with Breath of the Wild's horses, and I sorta knew that even before you started raving on about them. But it is good to have even more affirmation that they pay attention to all these details. So thanks for the info.
No problem.
There is one thing that they missed, though, that another game does with its horses that's way better.
What's that?
Breath of the Wild's horses don't poop in real time.
True.
Hey, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this look into Breath of the Wild's horses. It's a field of expertise that I know absolutely nothing about.
But I sure do.
Why do girls like horses so much anyway? Is it because they're phallic?
They aren't phallic.